Hi, this is Bobby Brown, and welcome to another fucking podcast.
You kids with your loud music and your Dan Fogelberg, your Zima, hula hoops, and Pac-Man video games, don't you see? People today have attention spans that can only be measured in nanoseconds.
See, son, old legends never die. They just lose weight.
Like a legend and an out-of-work bum with a lot of life.
For a while to talk Slave Raider and coffee, but we've actually got something important to talk about. He has a very, very important charity thing going on this Saturday, along with the Grammys. Dave Ellefson of Megadeth, welcome to another fucking podcast.
Hey, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Dude, I'm fucking great. It's like, everybody's bored. They're trying to find shit to do, and you're busy as hell, and now you've got a big-ass charity event going on.
I know, it's funny. It has been the busiest season of my life this last month, and it's kind of funny when the good Lord finally says, "Hey, time out, go home, stay at home," And it's amazing how productive I've been. Just look, I get home, I'm off tour anyway, but it's amazing, when you're not just running errands or running out to do whatever, how much more productive you are because you're forced to sort of lock down and stay here and just be here, So, so we started out as part of my David Ellefson Youth Music Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that we started about a year and a half ago. About a month ago, we started out the Schools Out initiative, which is to give free online lessons and mentorship to kids 18 and under who are out of school. Mm-hmm. And the whole purpose of the foundation was to continue to bolster music education programs. And so, of course, when this hit, when all of a sudden schools are locked down and everybody's forced to be at home, we thought, wow, this is we might have a resource we could bring to the table to help out. And even if nothing else, it's just some famous guys giving students some lessons.
Right.
Sometimes, look, celebrity can be currency when it's used in the proper fashion, and I think this is one of those moments where, a bunch of me and my friends who are, musicians, either artists or sidemen musicians, look, everybody's locked at home, they're out of work too, so I called them up. I said, hey, listen, let's roll up our sleeves and let's get proactive here and help out, because I think a charitable heart and charitable hands can be used to good work, so that's where that started. And so this Saturday, what we're doing is I'm calling it a web telethon, if you will, because guys like you and me, we grew up watching the Jerry Lewis telethon.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing. We're going to go on the web for about 8 hours, maybe more. And we got a whole bunch of famous guests coming on: Alice Cooper, DMC from Run DMC, Larry Thomas, the Soup Nazi from Seinfeld, and guys from
I know him.
Yeah, guys from the Zac Brown Band, Bumblefoot, Nita Strauss, my friends Dirk and Kiko from Megadeth, a whole bunch of people, Charlie Benanti from Anthrax, just to name a few. But all coming on, and we're just doing just exactly what you and I are doing here. We're just shooting the breeze, talking about what's going on. And along with it, we're going to be raffling off some items to raise money for the Youth Foundation. Fortunately, our operational expenses are not that high,
Right.
Which is good. We have some technology expenses, kind of as part of this. But, the main thing is we want these lessons for Schools Out to be free to the students. So while, again, I'm hiring some instructors, I can lean on my friends for a favor or two, but, in order to kind of keep this initiative going for the coming weeks and maybe even months, because, look, we don't know when this whole pandemic is going to lift. It looks like it's going to be here for a little while yet. So, I think it's a good way to be able to employ some fantastic musicians and instructors and keep, put them to work, so at least they're working and they're productive, and the students can be on the receiving end of some fantastic rock star instructors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's great. It's like you said, everybody's at home, so it couldn't have been too tough to get people.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just it. I mean, look, we were all panicking. I guess I wasn't quite as much, just because suddenly we got into action. My partner Tom Hazer called me up. I was literally at the grocery store here in Scottsdale, as the mad panic. The world's ending. Oh my God,
Yep.
So went to the store, and Tom calls this dude. I got an idea. Why don't we start giving some lessons? And that was when I just went, let me call some friends who I know are probably freaking out right now because tours are canceling and record dates are getting pushed back. And and sure enough, it was just the right moment in time, And it's funny how the good Lord provides, at just the right time, And sometimes the providing and the provision is just opportunity, And I think when we're like this, when you hit me, I'm like, dude, absolutely, let's chat, because I think if you and me are chatting, two are stronger than one, and
absolutely.
A couple of us together, can make a louder racket than just one of us, and it keeps everybody busy and engaged. And I think, look, creative types, man, we need to be creating. And when the creation stops, it gets weird, So I think for creative types, it's like, look, let's do a call to action, man. Call to arms.
Well, it's funny. It's like I've been joking. It's like everybody had these big plans, It's like, what am I going to do? Oh shit! I can woodshed guitar. I can write songs, and I can work out. I've been eating too much, drinking too much, and sleeping too much.
The quarantine 15, as we're calling it, right?
Oh, I know.
Well, and here's what I think. So what is it? April right now, right? So it's kind of like this, the Super Bowl babies that show up after, in like October and November, 9 months after the Super Bowl. So I think we're going to have like some quarantine albums coming out, people that are in lockdown suddenly are going to be birthing new albums and creative projects, which I think is beautiful.
Right. Do you think it's going to be too much though? You think it's going to be overkill? You think there's going to be too much coming out?
Look, one of the things we did, we have some songs, in addition to getting the Megadeth record going, and when this all lifts, we'll be able to get in the studio and actually start tracking the record. We were actually planning on doing that couple weeks ago, but then this all shut down, around the world here. But I've been working on a new Ellefson solo album, and
nice.
Kind of a TBD on when it would be released. Kind of has to fit in around Megadeth tours and stuff that we have coming up. And it's interesting how we wanted to push a song out this month anyway, and so I called Tom and I just said, dude, let's push this single out. It's called Simple Truth. We just put it out yesterday up on Bandcamp, and it's coming out on all the digital platforms next week. I said, look, let's just put this thing out now, and we'll donate all the money to the Italian Red Cross, to the COVID-19 relief fund. Yeah, because I said, listen, nobody's it's not the right time to be out pimping your stuff. Like, dude, check out my new album. This is not the time to do that. And I thought, what, we got this song sitting here. We were going to put it out anyway. And it's like, what, let's, fortunately, I've been blessed with some other means that I can afford to do that, it's the right thing to do. My band that recorded the album with me, they're in Italy. And so it's close to home to us.
Yeah.
Part of my family, if you will, my band they're on lockdown in one of the hot spots of the world. So anyway, it just felt like the right thing to do with that. And so I think, as I think we're seeing, normal is gone. There will be a new normal. And I think the new normal is going to be a lot more of what we're doing here. It's going to be a lot more of guys girls creating around the world. Not just with music, but with everything, with all types of creative endeavors, and live music, I know, you're a performer, and, going out and just firing it up and playing songs. It's like that's going to be a different dynamic now for quite a while. So I think the more we can collaborate like this and make it work, I think it just keeps us, keeps the wheels turning to, this is kind of the necessity is the mother of invention. And times like this is when I think some new platforms are going to be created for us to continue doing what we like to do.
No, absolutely. It's like, well, just a couple days ago, I was down to $4.72. And I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. Because I always do as a joke. Because all like talented people are on Facebook playing for tips, And I know my role. It's like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. Tip me to stop tip me, you're gone, right? And I raised a couple $100, but part of it was like, all right, I'm going to take a percentage of this because they got a fund for the people from the Rainbow Bar and Grill. Because obviously, everybody's out of work. It's like, I'll take some of that and donate it to them. It's like, it's all about helping give back.
I think everywhere we can, I learned that years ago, in the church when they talked about tithing, and I didn't really understand what it was because I thought it was like, oh, someone just wants my money. And what I realized is there's sort of a greater principle behind it, which is, if I'm so hung on to my money, it's almost like it's like sand through your hand. The harder you grip it, the quicker it goes, Yet when you can give it away and you take that mindset with it and you kind of have that heart behind it, it's almost like more shows up. It's like the river,
really? Is that how it works?
Yeah. When you dam up the river, it's just to get a bunch of mosquitoes and malaria. When you lift the dam and you let the thing flow, it's like, there's more coming down, you know what I mean? It's like Niagara Falls. Just let it go over the falls. There's more water coming, So I just think overall that's just kind of you see that spirit, when people are really helping out in all walks of life and in every industry. When people are willing to help and give and contribute, it just helps the river keep flowing,
Oh, absolutely. You said church. Were you a Catholic school kid?
I was a Lutheran school kid. I didn't go to school. I did not go to a Lutheran school. I went to public school, but I grew up in a farming community back in the Midwest, and very much, Protestants. In my town, I think there was 14 churches. 11 of them were Lutheran.
Oh, wow.
And, there was a Presbyterian, a Baptist, and a Catholic. I think were the other ones. But, it's just, that's what we did. You work 6 days a week. You go to church on Sunday. It's just how I was raised,
Well, I'm from St. Cloud. So it's like, I did go to the Catholic school, and that's pretty much all we had up in St. Cloud with Catholic churches. So I was kind of curious about that. When did you? How old are you when you took off for LA? Just kind of curious.
I was 18. I graduated high school in May of 1983, and I had a plan in place. Literally 5 days later, to head out to LA, and I had an apartment set up there that I moved there with 3 friends. So we moved out there. We had 2 apartments set up because I was going to go to what's now called Musicians Institute. Back then it was called, I guess it still was always Musicians Institute, but they had the BIT, Bass Institute, and GIT. So I had been accepted, and I went there that was the plan, So we had an apartment set up that we got through the school, and I got there, and my upstairs neighbor was this guy who was in Metallica, who I had not heard of at that point because I was new in town, and Metallica had just relocated. They were from the Bay Area, and then they moved. They went out to New Jersey to make their first debut album called Kill 'Em All, and so my upstairs neighbor, Dave Mustaine, filled me in on all this. And of course, it was just a really killer time to move to LA because, Motley and Quiet Riot and Rat, these things had kind of already started to take off. And in fact, I remember going to the Troubadour the night Wasp played their last show. They had just got signed to Capitol. And I think it was kind of like maybe as an album release show. And then they were on their way. And, Armored Saint, I think, had just gotten signed. So stuff was happening in LA. And so to meet Dave and as much as our thing was a couple years yet before we're going to, really take off, it was already on the runway. The engines were on and it was ready. I mean, and Metallica, of course, carved the path for all of us.
Right. What kind of music were you into before you came out here? And were you into the heavier stuff?
I was,
before you were exposed to them, or what?
I mean, back in Minnesota, word traveled. Well, you were closer to Minneapolis than I was. 3 hours south of Minneapolis, but I got all my information by way of Hit Parader, Rock Scene, Circus Magazine. You at least got to hear like KQ 92 out of Minneapolis and some of the hipper rock stations.
Hot Rockin' 104. Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't hear that stuff unless I was going to a concert in the cities or something. Right. But yeah, I was, initially it was, Kiss, Van Halen, Aerosmith, kind of the more American FM, hard rock stuff, Ted Nugent and that. Then into AC/DC and Cheap Trick and Rush and everything. But, really, the day that Judas Priest Unleashed in the East landed on my turntable at home, that was the game changer. That changed that turned the corner, because from there, then it went into Iron Maiden and Motorhead and Venom and, and this young little upstart band called Def Leppard. Who with On Through the Night and all that stuff. So by the time I got to LA, that's what I was into, and Diamond Head and this kind of stuff. And then I met Dave, and I mean, he was really in that world, he had with Metallica, they'd played with Vandenberg, they'd opened for Saxon. He was really in that world. So it was a perfect matchup, for me and Dave.
So did you see them with Dave, and what were your thoughts?
I did not.
Oh,
Dave
okay.
Dave was about 6 weeks out of Metallica when I met him. So it was probably first week of June. By the time I got to LA, got settled and met him as my upstairs neighbor. And I think he was out of Metallica sometime in April of '83. So like 8 weeks or so before that. Yeah. So no, I did not see him. But it's interesting, and I met Kerry King later that year when he became the guitar player for Megadeth for a short period.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Still in Slayer, but he was.
Right.
We needed a second guitar player, and we'd auditioned some guys, and I mean, Kerry was perfect. I mean, he was just a great rhythm guitar player and really understood it. And he told me, he goes, the night he saw Dave play with Metallica at the Whiskey opening for Saxon, he said, that night changed my life, and that basically helped him become who he is now. And
right.
And it was great him playing in Megadeth, because he went up to San Francisco with us in February and April of 1984 when we debuted the band, and he got to see what the Bay Area was about, because he was obviously Slayer was Southern California band, and they were probably kicking around the clubs much the same way Metallica was. But when Metallica relocated to San Francisco to get Cliff Burton in the band, I mean, that was a game changer, because Exodus was ruling the Bay Area as the real thrash band, so when Kerry went up and played with Megadeth, and he saw that, they're like, that was the Holy Grail. He's like, I've seen the light, And he went home and wiped the makeup off Slayer, and
Great.
It's funny those because Slayer was like a lot of bands, kind of finding their way. What's our identity, and so it's funny that those Megadeth gigs changed the course of Slayer. I mean, that set Slayer on the path that we know them to be now.
Right. What was the thrash and heavy metal community like down here? Because obviously there was the huge, the strip scene.
Right.
But like, where were you guys playing, and where, what was that community like?
Well, it's funny, when I met Dave, so again, June '83. First thing he says, he goes, we're not playing any clubs in LA. And I was shocked, because, coming from Minnesota, all we hear about is, oh my God, Van Halen, these legendary clubs, Motley, everybody cut their teeth, Led Zeppelin, the Doors, every great rock band, played the Whiskey and the Stardust and all these clubs. But he was right. He just said, said it's bullshit. It's all pay to play. And he goes, we're not going to do that. And that's what he said. He goes, we're going to debut the new band, which became Megadeth, of course. He said, we're going to debut the band up in San Francisco. Wow. And he was right. I mean, Dave was a real rock star up there. I mean, he was a hero, from his Metallica days. And,
right.
And so he called that one totally right. But yeah, I mean, look, all that stuff, even you look at like the Flyers, again, this is even before I got there, but like the Flyers with, Metallica, they would play like Radio City, stuff down in Orange County. It was never the stuff on the Sunset Strip, and same with Megadeth. I mean, we would play, we played with a country club, and that was a big venue actually out in Cedar. But we would play, eventually, I don't know, God, these places like the Balboa Theater. I remember there's some little theater downtown LA. It was more of like a punk rock theater. And and our agent Andy Summers he really understood the punk thing, which is why he got Megadeth, because he saw this sort of punk metal correlation. Punk and metal were very divided campuses. They did not mix until thrash came along.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you'd see, long-haired dudes in leather jackets, and you'd see skinheads and mohawks and that whole thing on the same campus. They were very much a divided campus. So thrash was like kind of the first time, that we brought both together in the same crowd.
Right. Yeah. It's just such an interesting time. I mean, because I'm 47, I think. 47. I'll be 48 in October. So it's like I'm a little bit too young to have experienced, all of that, even though I didn't move out here until like 6 years ago. But yeah, it's I'm used to talking to the guys from the strip, and hearing those stories. So it's nice to hear the stories from the other side of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, we were, our thing was very different. In fact, I remember, so again, we launched the band in '84 up in the Bay Area. I think our next show was after that. We went through a lineup change and we became a three-piece. It was me, Dave, and then our drummer, Gar Samuelson. And we played the Waters Club down in San Pedro. Again, very off the beaten path,
Yeah.
Fender's Ballroom, of course, down in Long Beach would have gigs and stuff. But then we made Killing Is My Business, our first album in December '84. That came out in summer of '85, and we went on a national tour with Exciter, who are our label mates on Combat Records. But even then and around that, we would go and play. Like I remember Megadeth Slayer. We flew out to play Lemoore in Brooklyn, and then another place called City Gardens in Trenton. And we did. Then we would do something. We do these odd shows we'd play with Motorhead and Wendy O. Williams at the Santa Monica Civic Center.
Oh wow!
So big looks. I mean, that was a big gig. I was 4,000 or 5,000 seat venue, something like that. And but these but cool. Like Wendy's punk and Motorhead was, this Motorhead, this thrashy thing. You know what I mean? And obviously Motorhead, was a cool band. They were one of the cool bands, obviously from England and whatnot, but they were just cool, So any gig with Motorhead was cool.
Right. So, we'll have you back sometime because I want to hear Lemmy stories, but because I know we're running short on time. But did you ever play the Met Center back home?
Yes. I did twice. With the first time was with Ronnie James Dio. It was Dio, Megadeth, Sabotage, and that was in the early 1988.
Okay.
And then a few months later, we came through with Iron Maiden on the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son tour with them, and we played there as well. And yeah, what a cool thing, because that was where I saw my first show, where I saw Kiss in February '77 on the Rock and Roll Over tour. And then I saw Frank Marino and Angel and Humble Pie on the Rock and Roll Marathon tour. So to play there with my heroes, I mean, Ronnie and my Maiden, I mean, to be standing on a stage that was my alma mater of concerts, and then to be standing there, I mean, that was definitely and my mom and dad in the audience, you know what I mean? It was one of those moments like, look, small town kid made good, and and of course, as we know now, the Met Center is now Mall of America.
No. Met Stadium is Mall of America.
Stadium. Yeah, you're right.
It's an IKEA. It's a fucking IKEA. It's funny. I mean,
almost more insulting.
It's funny how this always comes around to Kiss is like the week after they imploded that thing when it was still standing up. We went down. It was right when Alive 3 was coming out, and they were doing an in-store at Sam Goody at the Mall of America. And we pulled up, and that fucking building was still standing, just to stab it and twist it just a little bit, All right. Why don't we do this? People can watch on Saturday.
Yes, they can watch at facebook.com/David Ellefson and also at youtube.com/David Ellefson. And if you're on Twitch, you can go to it's the Grammy Music Education Coalition Twitch channel, which I think is just GEMC Twitch. It's their Twitch channel. They're opening up that for us. They're one of our partners. We're part of their Music Education Coalition.
Very cool. And people can donate right through the site.
They can, yeah. And actually, there's if you go to, I think we're going to have a link that will be posted up there on the thing for everybody to see. But if you go to EllefsonYouthMusicFoundation.org, I know it's kind of a mouthful, so EllefsonYouthMusicFoundation.org. On that site are two things. One, there's a donate button up on right in the upper right corner where you can click and donate. I mean, even $1, whatever is on your heart. And then also, if you're 18 and under, you can also sign up for the free music lessons on that site as well. Yep. So you can do both there at that site. Yep.
All right. Very cool. Then we'll see you on the Monsters of Rock cruise. Had a blast on Mega Cruise.
Nice. Yeah.
And,
it was a good time, wasn't it?
Oh, dude, it was a blast. I'm just going to throw this by you. So I do that cruiser jam where I have artists and cruisers playing together. The theme on this year's Monsters of Rock is Arrow Trick. So
good one.
Yeah.
I'll get my Tom Peterson licks going. Yeah, I'll be ready for you.
I love it. All right, Dave Ellefson, yeah. Dude, thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime, man.
Thanks so much, Izzy. See you, man.
All right, dude. Thanks.
Bye.
It was great to
Bye.
see you.
Bye.